Method 1 of 3, getting the right supplies. 1. Get the necessary wood. In order to build a pole barn, you will need to start with the right wood. The name, pole barn, can be slightly misleading, as you have the option of not only using poles but also square posts as well. You also are not limited to the construction of a barn, but any outdoor structure you would like, including sheds, workshops, and garages. You can use regular square posts, round poles, or old utility poles to build your structure. If you would like, you have the option of using logs you have felled or found on your own. Whatever wood you use, make sure that it is pressure treated and rot resistant so that the integrity of your structure is not placed in jeopardy. You will need 2x4s and 2x6s to frame the structure and add the roof trusses and lumber for the roof framing. Use plywood to create the walls. You have the option of adding wood siding on the outside of the plywood to give added appeal to the appearance. Choose your roof. Most pole barn roofs are made from metal roofing, because they are inexpensive, easy to install, and last a long time. However, if you don't find metal roofing aesthetically pleasing, you have the option of installing shingles. Make sure you have rust-resistant roof metal for the roofing. You will also need a ridge cap to cover the center of the roof. 3. Find the remaining supplies. You will need concrete to place around the poles in the ground, as well as gravel to create a level ground layer. You will also need galvanized screws, screw-in and straight roofing nails, and storm clips to keep your nails anchored. You can use bolted plates to attach the poles together instead of cutting notches in them as well. 4. Get the right tools. Part of the attraction of building a pole barn is the simplicity involved in putting it together. You don't need a lot of tools, but have the option of renting some bigger machines to aid in the building process. You will need a tool to use to dig the holes for the poles. You can choose between using a post hole digger or a tractor-powered auger. The latter is obviously less time-consuming, although it is much more expensive to rent. You will need a laser level and carpenter's level, an electric drill with the attachment for roofing screws, a hammer, a miter or circle saw, and a hand saw. You have the option of renting a backhoe for this project, although it is not required. You can also use a large damper to help level the post holes for the poles. 1. Method 2 of 3, preparing your area. 1. Measure the space. Before you start building, it is imperative that you get an accurate measurement of your space. This will help you to buy an accurate amount of supplies and reduce the stress in building. Walk around your space to decide how wide long you want the barn to be. Once you have gotten a general space marked off, take exact measurements and keep track of them on a notepad. Decide how high you want your structure to be. If you plan on using it as a garage or a storage shed, a minimum of 8 feet is required. You can build it as tall as you would like though. Just remember that you will have to work on the roof from the tops of the poles once they are in the ground. Make sure that the area you choose has good drainage to avoid flooding in the rainy season. 2. Remove any obstacles in the area. Pull out any shrubs or trees in the space where you plan on placing your structure, in addition to a 5-foot wide space around it. If you have grass down, use a sod cutter to remove it and cut it away in pieces. It can be replanted in another area of your yard if you desire, or be used to start a compost pile. 3. Level the ground. Make sure the area you are working with is level. It is easiest to use a tractor to do this, by moving soil from one area to another. You can do this manually though, especially when the area you are working on is already pretty level. 4. Create a string line. You do this to mark the outline of the building you plan on making. This will make laying out the post holes much easier, and help to keep the structure in perspective during the beginning stages. Put a small stake in each of the 4 corners of your building, and then wrap a long piece of string or twine between each stake. 2. Method 3 of 3, building your structure. 1. Dig the holes. For this, you can use your tractor-powered auger or your post hole digger. Depending on how high you want to build your structure, you will need to make the holes at least 3 to 5 feet deep. You don't have to build a foundation for a pole barn, but it is vital that your posts are stable so that even extreme weather conditions and accidents won't move them. Measure your poles or square posts to see how wide you need to dig the holes. Make sure to add a few inches of width to the hole so that the posts are guaranteed to fit. Keep your poles no more than 8 feet apart. You need your structure to be strong by keeping these foundation poles close enough together that they aren't each forced to subjected to too great of a load.